Hello everyone, and welcome once again to another program of Prime Time. I'm your host, Beverly. We know that elections upcoming is September 26th, and that's just around the corner as we continue to highlight the various parties here on the island that are contesting the elections. They are here to tell us what their plans are and how they can fix many of the situations on the island. So stay with us, and we'll be right back as we present another political party.
Cruise ship passenger arrivals are down 18%. Retail numbers are down 30%. People are scared. Business owners are scared. And investors are scared. The small man is hurt. It's clear that the present government doesn't know how to remedy the current economic crisis. The neighboring islands are catching up at a rate so fast that we will be left in their dust. The reason to vote in this upcoming election has never been clearer.
I'm Frankie Myers, your number 2 candidate on the United People's Party. It has never been clearer why you should vote. St. Martin is at a crossroads, and we need people in government that can lead with vision. Vote for me, your number 2 candidate on the United People's Party.
We're Frankie! We're Frankie, yes! We're Frankie! Say we voted for Frankie, voted for Frankie, voted for Frankie. We voted for Frankie, voted for Frankie, voted for Frankie. Number 2. We voted for Frankie, voted for Frankie, voted for Frankie. We voted for Frankie, voted for Frankie, voted for Frankie. And so are you. We voted.
At Nagico, the things that matter to you matter to us. Like your boat when you're at sea and you get away from everything. Your home and the security of your daughter's things. And the car that you've had for too long. But after all these years, you just can't let go. At Nagico, we're about much more than just insurance. We're about the big things and the small things that mean everything.
We're here at the outdoor sports meet. Oh, cut. These sandflies are murder. Wait, how come you aren't getting bitten?
Mommy uses Go Just for Kids to protect me from them and the evil mosquitoes that give you dengue.
There's also Go Family Protection for us adults. Can't be too careful with the dengue scares. Here.
Wow, this really works. Even the ants have stopped biting me. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Go, protect yourself.
Welcome back, and thank you very much. This is Prime Time, and as I mentioned in my opening, we are highlighting another political party this week, and that's the National Alliance. We're doing our best, and so starting off with us today is candidate number 10, and he's Cedric Peterson. He, in the last election in 2014, gained, was it
153.
153 votes. So that was a good showing.
It was.
Yeah, so thank you very much for joining us on the program. So I'm going to ask you, I was going to ask you what motivated you to go back at it again? So I suppose the 153 speaks for itself.
Exactly. Well, first of all, good evening, Beverly. Thank you for having me once again. It's good to be back with you. Yeah, 153 voters gave me the permission to get back in the race again for 2016. A little off schedule, but an election is an election, yeah.
So that boosted your morale?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
So what are you going to do differently than it's only 2 years and you're young, so that you did 2 years ago to see if you can pass the 153?
The effort has been to really reach a lot more people. So with this election, though it's a snap election, reaching people has become a lot more of a bigger challenge at this point. But I must say, I'm off to a pretty decent start. The first election does help because you're looking for that candidate that you supported then, and in 2 years, it doesn't allow them too much room to forget who you were. My situation is particular or very unique because I'm a civil servant. And the capacity in which I serve, when I left in 2014, not gaining a seat, I had to return back to my normal function. And in that function, I then play my role as a person working with the Prime Minister. So I take a little bit more of a political back seat at that particular moment. But now that we are back in the 2016 elections, I'm using this opportunity again to reacquaint myself and, of course, expand my reach with those who I have not been able to reach in 2014.
Why do you think it's important for young people, especially young people? We seem to have a lot of millenniums joining the campaign arena. Why do you think it's important to have young people like yourself postulating themselves on a slate?
Well, one, it's good for democracy, and also it's good for getting things done in a country, making a country be progressive. I have an instinct, and also there's something evidence that shows us on a global level that there's so much changes that are coming. St. Martin is not going to be exempt from facing those challenges that the world is going through at this time. So with new leadership stepping forward and actually trying to get people to get them into office, the idea is we need new, fresh ideas. We have to look at new ways for us to reinvent ourselves as a tourism destination. So there's a lot of opportunities there.
And so, if elected in Parliament, what's your passion? What's the area that you would focus on quickly?
Telecommunications. I was just telling you before we started tonight's interview, sitting in the University of St. Martin and you hit that Wi-Fi button on your smartphone and you're looking for that opportunity to be able to connect to Wi-Fi, and it wasn't available. So I start to question that. No fault of the University of St. Martin, but I understand the challenges we're facing in our young economy, young in the fact that we've just transitioned to country over the last 6 years. Telecommunications, internet connectivity, high costs, slow speeds, we're out of balance. We're out of sync there. We need to basically bring that to the people of St. Martin at affordable rates and higher speeds so that we can be more productive.
Yeah, I like the affordable rates. Your party's plan for St. Martin. Give us a little background of what you all have in that manifesto that you're going to do if elected in the upcoming elections.
2016 manifesto, I'm proud to say, has been launched officially, or released digitally, I should say, at this point. And we're all proud of what has come out of it since everyone has made a contribution. Education leads the document as soon as you open it. And you realize that education is the stone on which we're launching into our manifesto, letting people understand that once you have a solid education, then anything is possible. From there, it goes into how we interact with the people of our society when it comes to eradication of poverty. So that's one of the key focuses, because it is one of the Millennium Development Goals that we need to achieve as a country. It's the number one thing that we have to tackle. And so far, what we represent as a party, we are addressing it well, because we are reaching those people. We're trying to identify those that are still living in the shadows within our country. So that's one of the key areas.
What are people, I'm curious, you're on the campaign trail.
Yes.
What are people saying? What are they asking you?
This particular
what are their
election?
concerns? Yes, this time.
This particular election, people are a little bit disrupted, and it's expected. You're off schedule with an election. So people get, well, I've already voted. I don't want to have to vote again. But once they get into it, they realize that they have a role to play. They want to see the candidates. I have to say that. When you get out there, you have to use what I believe is old school and new school. The old school, get out there, touch people's hands, knock on people's doors. You'll be surprised. People want to see the candidates, irregardless to how frustrated they might be. And of course, social media, allowing that to work for you in the background. But you have to get out there and you have to meet people.
Hands.
That's right.
Okay, we'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'll continue. This is Prime Time. We'll be back in a moment.
A cruise is a great adventure, not only for passengers, also for us. The Port of St. Martin. Our port always reflected the needs and aspirations of the time. From the first to the 1.75 millionth passenger in 2013. Our cruise story started in 1963 with our first cruise passenger. 50 great years later, 20 million passengers later, thousands of cruise berths later, we've become the leading port in the Caribbean. 50 fantastic years. Like a dream. The dream of Port St. Martin lives on and reinvents itself every day. The best is yet to come.
Travel Planners, an award-winning agency on St. Martin with a well-trained, knowledgeable and friendly staff dedicated to making your travel arrangements hassle-free. We can book your airline, car, cruise and hotel reservations to anywhere in the world. Visit our offices or log on to our website and take advantage of our special packages to the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. Travel Planners, voted best travel agency on St. Martin.
Hey, Bob, you're on family vacation. Oh, but your daughter's got the measles. But don't worry about it. With your Be Sure travel insurance, children under 12 are covered for free.
Are you be sure? Be sure.
Yeah, for free.
Yeah, before we took a break, we were talking about people saying that they have like election fatigue. As they said, they voted just 2 years ago, they're exhausted. A lot of people are talking about that people are saying they don't want to vote. Is it a challenge for you when you go out on the political trail?
It might seem that way, I believe, to a new candidate. Second time around, I kind of smile at that. I do show some concern, but you have to engage that person in a deeper dialogue. Okay, you can't surface scratch with them. You have to really take the time to sit down there and figure out, well, why are you choosing not to be a part of a democratic process, that you have the right. Your voice should be heard. So you have that dialogue with the person, and then you come to realize that they just needed some clarity on certain little issues that have been going on, which also gives me as a candidate some insight into the fact that the people of St. Martin are paying attention. They are listening to the news, they are reading the newspapers, and they want to get clarity on certain issues that's taking place. So once you're able to address those honestly, transparently, then you're able to convince a person, you know what, I'm going to definitely support you this year because you answered my questions. And again, treating people with dignity and respect, because if you're asking someone for their vote, which is a very, very valuable thing to ask for, do so respecting the individual that you're having a conversation with.
Now, your passion is telecommunications. So how much of social media are you using in your campaigning?
Facebook is one of the tools that I actually have included in my campaigning tactics, strategy, I should say. Twitter was one of the accounts that I opened, but I still believe, honestly, Beverly, that people are just, some are savvy. And I think it opens our eyes as candidates as well to be able to understand, well, how savvy are people with social media? How many people am I reaching?
Yeah.
You can send invites out to 200-300 people, and if you only get like 11 responses, and you start to question, how is it really working out? Am I really reaching the core people that I would like to touch base with? So it will take some measurement, and coming out of the election, I'll be able to sit down and evaluate, did I use it effectively, and how savvy are the people that I'm trying to reach?
If it made a difference.
And it made a difference, correct.
And so what do you see as the big issues to be addressed in St. Martin presently? For example, let's say your party gets into government.
You know, the thing I've been hearing a lot in the campaign trail is the topic of the short-term contract. It's still lingering in people's minds up until this afternoon before coming to the interview tonight. That's one of the things that a constituent asked me. He said, listen, I've been hearing a lot about it, but I'm not seeing it happen. I said, well, we haven't gotten the chance to fully govern for a term, for a full term yet. And what we did in the 9 months that we were there, we prioritized things that we felt that really needed some urgent attention. So balancing that budget, making sure that we're ready for 2017, which we are, education on the move, and getting the government building, the new administration building, back up and running and getting things moving with that. So those are the things that we prioritize in the 9 months that we were given prior to the snap election. We're asking the people of St. Martin now to be able to give us that 4-year mandate so that we're able to tackle those things that we talked about back in 2014. And one of them is that short-term contract. We have to look at what can be done. We are of the opinion as a party that it is being abused, especially now in a time frame when we know the importance of taking 6 months out of the year that we call the low or slow season and trying to become very creative and keeping it active so that there is no room for the short-term contract to even be applied. And that's key. So that's one of the first places to start. But the abuse of it has to be addressed. We have actually brought motions to the floor for the Parliament to look at. things have not progressed. Of course, we did not have the majority in Parliament at the time, and we're hoping to be able to do that once elected.
Okay, at this point, you have an opportunity to ask our viewers for your vote as candidate number 10 on the National Alliance list.
To the people of St. Martin, I say to you on Monday, September 26th, go out there and cast your ballot. Let your voice be heard. This election is very, very important, not only for yourselves, but also for our children. Our children need to have a future that we can secure today and be able to take them into the turn of the brand new decade that's ahead of us. Some challenges are coming ahead, and you need a government that's stable. 4 years of stable government means that you have to go out there and cast your vote. I would like your support. I'm candidate number 10, Cedric Peterson on the National Alliance slate, a way forward to 2020 and beyond.
Thank you so much, Cedric. Wish you all success. And I hope you get more than 153 this time around.
I hope so too.
All the best. Good luck.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, and we'll be back in a moment with another candidate slash minister. Stay tuned.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
This is Prime Time in our political programs. And as we continue, we have in our studio, in our midst, the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports Affairs, Mrs. Various Jacobs. But also, she's candidate number 2 on the National Alliance. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Beverly. Good evening to you and your viewers. It's always a pleasure for me to be here.
Yeah, and we appreciate it that you were able to make it at such a last notice. But anyway, we're always glad to have you here at Prime Time. I am curious to know, how are you balancing your minister hat and then also your campaign hat?
Well, I must say, this is the first time that I've had to do it both. So it's new. It's quite difficult. Even though as civil servants, you're entitled to time off, the ministry doesn't stop working. And so being a minister, it's very difficult to take that time off. So I'm not getting to campaign as much as I would like to. But when I do get to, the people convince me that, don't worry, Ms. Jacobs, we see the work you're doing. So I'm balancing it that way. I'm hoping that the work that I'm doing will pay off as, promotion for my abilities and my capabilities, my accomplishments, and that I work for the people and convince them that they would like to see me return as a representative, whether in Parliament or as a minister.
Yeah. And so November 19, you came in, and so that was about 9 months.
Yes, 9 and some change.
And some change. And so when you look back in retrospect, you think were able to accomplish much?
Beverly, in terms of the time, of course, it's very, very short. It's similar to what we had the last time, except that you didn't know in advance that that's all you would have. Now you knew in advance that that's all you would have, and then you would be going right into an election. We were able to have the budget passed, and with the budget passing, we did have plans that we were able to start to put into place. So in some respects, you got more done, and in other respects, you got less done. You had to really prioritize what does it make sense to push at this point. Yeah. Maybe had you had a longer period of time, you would have prioritized differently. It is very difficult for the organization itself to have gone through all these rapid changes. And so to keep them focused and motivated is also a challenge. and to stay in contact with them and make sure that all are, flying in the same direction in formation, as you would say, is a challenge within the ministry because they feel like yo-yos, up and down, another minister again, and it's through no fault of theirs.
Right.
So it's like almost you're in trouble if you do, you're in trouble if you don't. So I really do my best to stay in contact with the people that are working for the ministry, as well as the people we're trying to serve. I do my best to come out in weekly press briefings to enlighten, and I really try to push the ministry also, because a lot is being done all the time. The hard workers of government are the civil servants. So whether you fall or whether you succeed totally depends on how they are working. And so they have been working, and I've seen, because I've returned, I see that some of the initiatives we started in 2012 were in the pipeline, were partially sidelined, but that they were also enthusiastic about getting them going again. So, it helped that they saw the vision that I had back then and were willing to pull, many of the things that we had planned back then. And one or two of the things that I had planned back in 2012-13, Beverly, were actually trying to come out, but because of budgetary constraints, they're still stagnated. And then, I read some of the opinions in the papers, and I'm trying to understand if the people who are writing them are politically motivated, if they even understand how government works. Because you can conceptualize a program or a project, as we did in 2012-13 with the Education Care Center. That was started back then. The whole discussion about it started back then. The process, the committee that was set up to check how it would be executed was done. I left. I don't know at that time what happened when I came back. Or I was hearing, even with the last minister, that it was on the books, it's coming out. But the building isn't ready. The funds aren't there. It had to be brought down smaller and smaller because of funds. And now again, with the 2017 budget and its constraints, it might run into peril. So we do have, for instance, the building being finalized, finally brought forward to be fixed. It's going to start, while it had been hoped it would be finished in time for the August school year to start. It's not. So disappointments are there. Sometimes also, the politics being what it may, good intentions, projects or an advice is signed off, and it goes through the organization and it gets stuck somewhere. So it's quite...
It
can be quite frustrating. So this work is not easy work, and you have to have very broad shoulders. You get blamed when it goes well or it goes bad, and you have to learn to remember what you're about. You have to remind yourself what is your end goal. And so I'm just striving to continue to meet those goals.
And you're postulating yourself again.
And that's why I've postulated myself again.
Okay, so we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about what happened on the campaign trail and what are some areas your party would really want to champion if elected back into Parliament. Stay tuned, and we'll be back in a moment. This is Prime Time. The Daily Herald is my first source for up-to-date information and news. Putting together this program of Prime Time requires research and knowledge of current events. For local news, regional and international news, do read the Daily Herald. This program and all programs can be seen on Facebook and on YouTube. So in the comfort of your home, if you miss it on channel 15, you can also Google it and sit and enjoy it. And so, 966 votes in 2014. And so your target for this time around is?
That's a good question, Beverly. In this time around, I believe there are so many people out there campaigning very hard. I'm not taking anything for granted. If I break even, I'm quite happy. What I'm striving to do, Beverly, is to make sure that the people remember why they voted for me in the first place. So I'm doing my best to maintain my numbers. I hope to grow, for the party to grow, because as a party we're aiming for a full mandate, and for us to do that, our leader and myself have to pull what we've pulled and more. We have some very, very strong candidates on board with us who I believe will do very well. when I look at all slates, in all honesty, not being biased, I think we have a great showing, a great group of professionals in a wide range of ages, from the very young to the seniors, and especially with the older ones being quite experienced, which is needed to balance the innovation, the drive, and the vigor. So I believe we are a party for the future. We have a nice long future ahead of us if we continue to grow the way we're going and continue to bring up our strong young professionals, which we are doing. So I aim to improve.
And so you says, so you all would work with a coalition, but you'd prefer not to. Am I
We
saying
would
the right
really
thing?
like, we have been in opposition for many, many, many years. I met National Alliance in opposition. We have been giving this cry that now 8 other parties are doing, and it's amazing that some of the 8 are part of the problem initially. So I don't want to promote that we are going for a coalition, because as a party we believe we are qualified to do what has to be done in both parliament and government, and we would like that mandate for the very first time to do so. We've proven that we can work in short spurts. We would like the opportunity to do so over a complete governing period and then be judged on that. So
And so if you get that opportunity, I know that you like education, culture, youth, and sports. What would you really like to see implemented specifically?
Well, my vision for this part of the ministry, for this part of government, is that we as a government are able to provide for each child the education he or she deserves to reach his highest potential. That we can not only develop academic students, but well-rounded students. So that's where the culture and the sports come into play. That it must be part of the total education of the child. Besides that, character and moral development for me, and bringing back the family, is so important. It's not part of the portfolio.
And so this is your opportunity now to ask your 966, I'll say, and some more to vote for you again, and show their confidence.
Thank you, Beverly. To all the voters of St. Martin, firstly, I would like to encourage you to go out and vote. Once you have received that voting card, you are privileged to have a say in your country. That's your voice. Elect someone who is responsible, who has integrity, who is dedicated and will work hard. I believe I am that someone. So I'm asking you humbly, whether it's 1, 2, or more, to vote for Silveria Jacobs, the National Alliance candidate number 2. I promise I will work for you. And if you tell 5 others, we will definitely get there.
Thank you very much, and all the best as you continue the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.
This has been Prime Time. As we said, go out and vote. It's your democratic right. Please use it and be safe out there during the campaigning season. See you next week, and may God bless you.